he's also a community advocate, and he's an awesome addition to Promise Neighborhoods. He goes by Knowledge. His name is also AKA Omar. I want to say Knowledge because you always say it first. But he does have knowledge and wisdom to give. A very smart, intelligent man. He is a father. He is an educator, and he's came from a life that he's been able to go ahead and give wisdom to others to go ahead and make a change for people's lives. So I would love for us to give a big round of applause. Conversation is the 3 C's. I'm gonna give this over to you.
Peace, man. How's everybody doing today? All right. Let's start by everybody give yourself a hand for showing up, man. Please. Thank you, man. And, not just showing up for me, but showing up for yourself and showing up for each other, right? Because we're a team. And we know what? When the team works, the dream works, right? Exactly. All right, before I get started, I want to give a special shout out to a couple of people, right? First, I'm going to start with Erica, right? Because, you know how she could be, right? You know, she could be real persistent, right? So when you going to do your lunch and learn, KB? So when you going to do your lunch and learn, right? So, and it's crazy, right? Because at first, I felt like she was putting me on the spot, right? But as I got into it, I see that she just put me in the spot. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm supposed to do, right? I want to give another special shout out to my family. I got my lady here, friend. You'll see my son running around here, Calvin. This is a special lady right here, right? Because I ain't always been easy to put up with, man. We got a lot of years in this, you know what I mean? So I want to thank her for coming and showing up and supporting me as well. Right? I want to thank Miss Jeannie, because she's not down here yet, so, because she's one of the reasons that we all here together, right? So let's give a special shout out to her. And also, my fellow cohort mates, you know what I mean, that's in the Promise Works program with me. I appreciate it. All right? Now, like I said, my name is Omar, right? But many of you know me by my preferred name, Knowledge, right? Let me tell you a little bit something about myself, right? I grew up in a place that I like to call the little big city, right? And that's Trenton, New Jersey. Some of you know about it, some of you might not, right? We got a slogan in Trenton that says, Trenton makes the world takes, right? So they're gonna get a load of me, right? And I'll make it plain for you, right? I've been in preschool, and I've been in prison. And pretty much everywhere in between. And I made some good choices, and some bad ones, right? I've seen myself in some very favorable circumstances, and some not so favorable ones, right? And there's one thing I was able to notice, right, when I look back at these circumstances, there's 2 constants. One was me. For some reason, I wanted to be in all these circumstances. Go figure, right? And then 2 is that all of these circumstances were a direct correlation to one of my choices. And I also learned that when I was in favorable circumstance, right, it was due to me being able to make a rational decision. Now, rational means I was able to use my intellect over my emotion. I was able to go with what I knew over how I felt, right? And then when I look and I see the times when I weren't, it's because it was the opposite. I was letting my emotions dictate my actions, right? So I said to myself, how can I learn or develop some tools that can help me not be so reactionary and impulsive? And that's how I came up with the 3 C's. Commitment, consistency, and competence. Now, this ain't no quick fix. You're not going to just be able to implement this into your life and everything's going to change. No, right? What we're going to do is we're going to build a foundation for personal growth, reinforced with the implementation of the 3 C's. So like, you know, when you build a building, you gotta have a foundation, right? And the foundation gotta be strong. And it's strong because they put these metal bars in there, and it's called rebar. That's how you reinforce it. And that's what we're gonna do with these 3 C's. We're gonna reinforce our foundation. All right? And we got a simple goal today. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna realign ourselves. And we're gonna realign ourselves with a process. A process that's been created to help us develop direction, discipline, and depth. Personally, professionally, and with a purpose, right? Because we live in a day and time right now where we tend to glorify the destination, right? Yeah, we happy we made it, right? But sometimes we don't give regard to what it is, the journey. It wasn't easy, right? And that's where I come with my first C, commitment. Now, what's commitment? Commitment is a promise. It's a strong promise, right? We're gonna make a commitment today. We're gonna make a promise to ourselves, right? And that promise we're gonna make is to stand on business. Now you may say, what does that look like? Well, it means we're gonna stand firm, we're gonna endure, and we're gonna be unyielding in the face of adversity. Now, why is this promise necessary? Well, for me, I know it's very necessary because without making this promise to myself, the first sign of choppy water, I'm jumping ship. Right? And that's why this C is the most important C, the first C, right? Because once we make this commitment, that's when we're making our agreement with ourselves, right? That from here on out is non-negotiable. There's no exit strategy, right? I'm no longer going to entertain my excuses, right? Instead of talking myself out of it, I'm going to start talking myself into it. You know what I mean? Now, a lot of times we hear commitment, sometimes we look at it like a bad word because we got a bad experience with it, right? But see, it wasn't the commitment that was bad. It was just that we committed to the wrong people, places, and things. You know, we might have committed to some people that we've outgrown, right? A system that we really didn't fit in. You know, if you look, there's probably a bunch of cycles that we committed to that robbed us of our time and our talent. Right? But this new commitment, this new promise that we're making with ourselves today, we're going to challenge all that. Right? Because this new promise, what this new promise is saying, that I will no longer be a part-time participant in my life. Say it with me. I will no longer be a part-time participant in my life. Right? So, let's look at this, right? Look where we are right now, right? Look where you are. And then you look at put your goal up there. Now, it's going to be a lot of twists and turns in the road to get to our goal, right? We don't know what it's going to be. But if we have this commitment is going to be our compass. So it's going to keep us grounded in the right direction. And that's going to make it harder for us to go off the path. Now, okay, we got this commitment now, right? So we're on our way. But that commitment ain't going to be the hill of beans without the second step. And that's consistency. Right? Consistency, that's not showing up today, maybe tomorrow. No. Consistency is showing up today, tomorrow, next week, even next year. We have to, right? It's showing up when it's inconvenient. It's showing up when we're uncertain. We don't know what the outcome going to be, but I know if I show up, I'm doing my part, right? For me. You know what I'm saying? So now, it's not like an emotion, right? Because the emotion, it fosters, it'll get you started to do an action, right? But see, the consistency is the product of doing the work over and over again, right? It's being driven. And to be driven is to be hardworking and ambitious. Right? So, and when we deal with personal growth, consistency is discipline. Discipline, that's how we turn good habits into a way of life, into a culture, right? Because discipline is cultivated through repetition. Right? You heard the saying, practice makes perfect? Only if you have a perfect practice. Right? But with discipline, it teaches us to practice right, so we play right. Now, consistency ain't just in our actions. We got to be consistent in our ideas. Right? When we choose goals, we got to make sure the goals are attainable. Not only attainable, but that they're cohesive with who we are, with our characteristics and our personality, right? Like if I'm an introverted person, it would be outside of me or inconsistent for me to choose a goal like to be a public speaker. You understand what I'm saying? That is not cohesive with my personality and my characteristics. Right? So, at times, right, we got to know that consistency is where we see growth. And it's not always pretty. It's not always going to be comfortable. But you will be able to feel real benefits when we do the work. When we show up every day, we make it happen. Right? Even when nobody's paying attention. That's the part that matters a lot. Right? Because who are we doing it for? It's for us, right? It's personal growth. So it's not going to be a loud thing. Right? Personal growth is a quiet process, right? That we begin to see unfold through reflection, being able to look back, right? Repetition, doing it over and over again, and refining, being able to see where we can make some changes and make it better. Now, it's a famous quote by a guy named James Clear, right? James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits. I don't know if anybody read that book, but it's a good read, right? I learned about it through my therapist. And what he said was, every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to be. So that means by showing up every day, standing on business, right? That we keep casting that vote. We keep casting that vote for the person we want to be by showing up every day, right? But what do they say? Elections have consequences, right? So we got to be careful that when we cast that vote, that we're voting for the right person. You know what I'm saying? That we're voting for the person that we're supposed to be, not the person we want to be. Right? Because the person we're supposed to be is easy. All we got to do is wake up and do what we're supposed to do. And we're going to find ourselves in the right positions. Right? So we got to be responsible. And that leads me to the third C. Competence. Right? Now, competence, that's where the proverbial rubber meets the road. That's where things get real. Right? That's when you separate the words from the work. And competence, right? I look at competence like it's an inner confidence that comes from being comfortable with the process. Now, you know me, you'll hear me say that a lot. That comfortability comes with confidence, and confidence comes with comfortability. I believe that's real important. So, competence is a mastery of a skill, right? Or a mindset, right? And this mastery, it don't come overnight. It's going to take time, and it's going to take something else. It's going to take resilience, right? Because we got to be okay with the fact that we're not going to be good in the beginning. And that's okay, because it's okay to be a beginner. right? So, and I know it's a lot of pressure, especially in our culture, right? For us men, for sure, right? And it's spoken about, and it's implied, right? Everywhere we go, that we gotta have it together, right? And that could be a lot of pressure, man. Because I'm not always gonna have it together, right? But if I'm competent, I'm giving myself the ability to be able to constantly reflect and correct myself. Right? Because competence comes from asking the right questions and allowing myself to resign myself to fall back and listen to the answer or not. Right? We can even say that competence is the result of commitment and consistency working together, right? It's where our preparation starts to produce the product, right? It's where we start to see the outcomes because now we're in it. You see what I'm saying? Now we have our 3 C's. We got commitment, consistency, and competence. Now, it's not just some words, right? Or just simple concepts. It's tools. But we know the tool is only useful if you use it, right? And today, we're going to show you how to use them. How we're going to use these 3 C's, right? We're going to make a commitment to ourselves to be consistently competent. What is that saying? That's just saying that I'm going to make a strong promise to myself to always think first. I'm going to make a strong promise to myself to be diligent, to be mindful. Right? To be mindful means to be in the moment. Why do we need to be in the moment? Because that's where we are most powerful. Because that's all we can control is ourself right now. And if I'm conscious of that, then I'm putting myself in a favorable position, right? I'm doing what I'm trying to do. Make myself less irrational, less reactionary, less impulsive, right? Because I'm giving myself the time to think. And the longer I take to think, sometimes I give myself the better chance of having the right response, right? So, now that we know what these tools are, and we know how to use them, let's put them to the test. All right? I want everybody to take a deep breath with me. Clear your mind. All right? Now think about somewhere in your life where you want to see some change in work, right? Now, there's 3 questions we have to ask ourselves. One is, do I have the commitment that it's going to take? The second question is, what am I going to have to do consistently to make this commitment worth it? And now the third one, what level of competency am I going to have to bring to this? I might have to learn something else. I might have to upgrade myself, right? To make this work. And now that you got that in your head, right? You got your destination. You can see it. You know what direction you gotta go. You know what discipline it's gonna take, right? To make it all work. All right? All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I got one. So, tell me a little bit about just like, when did the 3 C's become important for you? Like, when did that click?
Okay. Like I said, right? I was in a position where I made a bad decision, right? And I knew that the decision was going to affect more than myself. So I kind of took it hard, right? And I didn't like the feeling. So I said, I have to do or find a way to not let this happen again. And before I could do that, I had to look at how did I allow it to happen? Where did I miss my step? And that's when I learned that instead of worrying about where I missed my step, I just got to watch every step. You feel me? So that's where the commitment to being consistently competent, like to pay attention, to be aware of what's going on with me and around me. And I knew once I was able to do that I would make myself a benefit to not just me, but the asset part me, to not just me, but to everyone around me. Because you knew that if I was being careful with myself, I'd be careful with you or whatever we had together. Thank you. Any more questions? Yes, ma'am. What's your name, please?
I'm Deborah.
Deborah. How are you doing today? Peace.
Wonderful. So first of all, it's wonderful. I love it.
Thank you. This is my first time.
Oh, it's my question to you is, do you care to comment a little bit about accountability, right? So, because I'm sure it's a journey that we all don't go by ourselves, right? So, in terms of maybe having accountability, how do you select that? You know what I mean? Like people that can help you walk this journey. Right?
Okay, like now, like I said, I've been from preschool to prison, anywhere in between. So I've been through all walks of life, and even in the worst places, you can find the best people. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just a matter of being like in tune with myself and knowing what feels comfortable. You know what I mean? Like I had this, I go to drug and alcohol therapy, right? Groups, right? We confront. And one day they asked us a question, right? To write down what traits of ours that we want to get rid of and what traits we want to keep, right? And one of them that I picked was my voice. Because I can look back at times when my voice was needed, but it wasn't available. Because I didn't bring it. You know what I mean? And because I'm able to look back at that, I can correct it. That's why I say like discipline lets us reflect and correct, right? So I was able to look back and see like, all right, what can I have done different? Just be me. That's what was missing out of that, me. And now that I have my voice and I use it to put myself into situations that I feel like I'm needing, where it's comfortable, where I know that if I tell you you did something that hurt my feelings, you'll say I'm sorry instead of I'm sorry your feelings were hurt. You know what I'm saying? It'd be it's family. Like I said, this right here, like it's comfortable. I was nervous. I'm sure you can probably see I was a little nervous, right? Because this is my first time, but because I'm around family, people I see every day, it makes it easier.
That's right.
It's kind of like a little bit of pressure, but at the same time, it's not as much. You know what I mean? Because you want to show out for your family. You want to let them know that when y'all let me go out here into the world, I'm going to represent us, right?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So, would that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any more questions? Hey, Scott.
Thanks, Alex, so much. I got a lot out of it.
Thank you.
One thing from the very beginning of when I met you, you struck me as being really present. You know, really present and just emotionally there. Like you didn't just say hi and bye and how you doing and keep walking. You know?
It's a lot of practice.
But I just wondered, you know, and you're always really thoughtful and insightful. And I just wondered if you could say a little bit about, you know, are you a meditator or what helps you to like be in that state? Is it the same kind
Right.
of with the 3 C's at least from it out?
Yeah, I think so because like it's being able to empathize, right? Be aware and like to understand, to like have an understanding of people, to know what, you know, like a lot of people don't care what they people take. But I do. Because if I know what drives you, I know how to work with you. That's why I like working with children, right? Because a lot of times we have these things in us that's not fostered, right? So we don't know that we're able to do all these things. So I'm in tune with them because they can't always articulate what's going on with them. But if you can watch them and you remember being a kid, it's helpful. You know what I mean? Like, I can remember what it felt like when I wanted to speak and nobody was listening. So now, whoever wants to speak, I'm going to listen. Because I know it's important to have that voice. Right? Even if it don't make no sense. I can tell you that after you said it. But you got to get it out. Right? Because I'm going to tell you something, right? There's one thing that, like speaking on that note, right? There's something I know that's very important, right? When it comes to things like that, right? When somebody's saying something, and you know it's nonsense, right? But they might not know, right? It's easier, right, to make them feel silly than to look silly, right? So you find ways to ask them questions that they have to ask themselves, man. You know what I mean? So now I'm not embarrassing you. I can say something and you could think like, you know what, I'm gonna get back to you. but yeah, like it's just growing up and being able to use what I learned growing up now. Like I was a heavy procrastinator, right? I still am sometimes, right? But one thing I try to learn how to do is when something comes to my mind, to try to do it, right? Because I get in trouble a lot because I got so much in my mind that stuff that I feel like, you know what I mean? You know, you triage your thoughts, right? So, you know what I mean? She might ask me to do something, but it's triage. So sometimes, you know, you gotta revamp that, even our priorities, right? So yeah, man, it's just about just being aware, just knowing that everybody matters. To themselves. So if you matter to yourself, who am I to say you don't matter? Right? Now if you matter to me and you, now that gives me, like if I know I matter to me and to you, that gives me a confidence when I go out to this world because I know I matter. Right? That's what I try to do. Any more questions?
I don't have a question. I have I guess a comment.
Okay.
Very well articulated. I understand your message, and I knew about your message, but I just never really thought about it in that way. And I think the way that you presented it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So y'all know, like, this is a job interview too, so. I really appreciate y'all coming out, man. Thanks so much. Oh, wait, hold on. Somebody else had a question?
Ray has something.
Oh, okay, Ray, I'm sorry. What's up, man? Peace.
Yeah, that was a good presentation. 3 C's is actually, from my opinion, my perspective, is something that you gain at levels of yourself when you level up.
Indeed.
It's not something you can just collect all at once. So when you do collect those, and then at the point where you're moving in purpose, all 3 of those are aligned and they have to be aligned for you.
Exactly.
They got
You
it.
got it. You got it, man. You got it.
I never had it in written language.
Because you know, cause like I look at growth and development like steps, right? We grow and we develop, and we grow and we develop. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's like you said, like it's a graph. That's why I say it's not a quick fix. It got to be implemented from the beginning, from the foundation, right? And now everything we do is reinforcement. You know what I'm saying?
So it was good in detail the way you explained it, and then how you kind of put it out there in those levels, and then to make it make sense and tie it all together, which actually does make perfect sense, especially to one's experience.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Ray. It means a lot, man. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Peace, man. How you doing, brother?
I missed the presentation. What are the 3 C's?
3 C's are commitment, consistency, and competence. And what it's about is, right? See, commitment is a strong promise, right? And it's about making a strong promise to ourselves, right? Because consistency is being diligent, is being disciplined, right? So it's about making a strong promise to ourselves to be diligent and disciplined and being mindful. Thinking before I do. Making sure it's thought going to every action. and not being so irrational and letting my emotions dictate my behavior.
Which is something that you already hold because you were on your walks yourself, so.
Yeah, I
You
listen,
do a great job.
What's your name, brother?
Right, I listen to him. My name's Great.
Great.
Great. Like he's already.
What name knowledge?
Sir.
You righteous?
You can say that.
No, I'm not gonna give us a 5%. That's how
No,
I'm
I'm righteous because I'm doing according to what's right in life. I
Very
understand
right.
that.
Exactly.
And those are the
Peace.
first
Peace.
So you're gonna take it, I'm very articulative and I'm very observant when a person talks and pay attention to the mannerism, how they articulate their thoughts, and because that matters. Because
Word is
it's like
right.
for me to respond to it, I need to know who I'm responding to. And when you know who I'm responding to is by watching how you actually articulate yourself.
Indeed.
So I learned a lot about you in this little bit of time and how you spoke. You're patient. You seem like to be a patient individual.
I'm learning. You know
You're
what
not
I mean?
learning, you're doing it. You gotta just spoke in a patient manner.
Indeed. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
he doesn't have that many knowledge for a reason.
You paced out the way you did. You did very well for me to be an orator and to hear someone else articulate themselves in a very clear, precise way, with a little bit that I heard. You know, so I just want to appreciate you. I don't know you personally.
Oh, you know what? Somebody told me about you. King.
That's what I was just about to say. Because I know you for a little bit before he got here, and I see a lot of similarities in each other. That's why I wanted y'all to, that's why I gave you the information to connect.
What you said? I'm sorry.
I say you both are great thinkers.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I appreciate that as well.
I appreciate that. But
It's
that's
nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you too. But I will say this.
Experience, yeah.
No, not even just experience. I say this when I speak to because I'm into a lot of men and I speak to people and he knows I go places and I speak at schools and stuff like that. But one thing I can say is you mentioned it. It's like you gliding over it, and I can go over it. People had if they didn't have that experience. You said you've been in almost life in prison. To me, for me, I did 13 years straight in prison. That to me was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I got to learn in them 13 years more about my life more about myself than I knew my entire life. And I got to really assess myself and really, so now that I'm better prepared with who I am. So I know that when I enter a room, because a lot of people, in my opinion, enter a room and they think about the room. And what the room is going to feel about them. And what now I've grown to understand, it's not about the room, it's about what I'm going to bring to the room. I'm the one walking into the room. So what do I bring into the room? What type of energy am I bringing into the room? You know, so that to me, I had to learn myself to learn that I got a big personality. Sometimes I gotta shut up. Sometimes I gotta be quiet. Sometimes I gotta be loud and boisterous. It depends on the room. It depends on the setting. And I say that to say you have that experience, and in that experience, a lot of people don't know when you're in that environment. I don't want to feel like I'm promoting that environment by all means. But when you have to be in it, you're always in your head, no matter how many people you're around. You're constantly in your head and do a lot of self-reflection. And I believe that self-reflection is our most powerful God-given tool if used effectively. Because most of us use self-reflection in the manner of, oh, what did she say to me yesterday? Oh, you know what? When I go to work, I'm gonna wear the purple shirt. That's just self-reflecting. Opposed to that, you know what? I spoke to her like that. I could have handled that a little bit better. That is character development. When you do it in that manner, and he seemed like he has done a lot of that character development.
Yeah,
I commend you on that.
And I've been through a lot of I think that we learn about ourselves a lot through introspection and retrospection. Being able to look inside and look back. I think that's important, right? Because if you can't be able to look back at your life, right, and say, I might could have done something different right there, then you haven't learned nothing to that point, I think. You know what I mean? And because if we have, then we can see, like, I ain't have it all figured out. You know what I mean? And that's why I found myself in these unfavorable circumstances, right? Because I thought I had it figured out, but I didn't take the time to figure it out. I was going by how I felt instead of what I knew. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's important. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
Ray.
Appreciate you.
Very nice. Peace. It's nice to meet you, bro.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad you guys can meet. I wasn't expecting you to be here.
No, I wasn't expecting to be here either. I was at the mechanic actually with one of my cars, and I drove by and I remember this Thursday. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna stop in. I seen the parking lot flooded or something.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah,
That's timing, man. That's timing, man. That's God. God is timing. You know what I'm saying? Word is not. Any more questions?
I just want to say I really appreciate what you were saying. I agree, and I got my notes down to do my self-reflection.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all
That's
about.
what
Us working together. You know what I'm saying?
that was
Exactly.
really good. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much.
I appreciate your knowledge and I care for you.
Indeed,
I'm
indeed,
so proud of
indeed.
you.
Indeed.
You teach me a lot too. Being in the class with you, you have taught me so much. You know, I always get emotional when we're
It's all good. It's all good. You're allowed.
Even just the way you talk, you know, you always, like, from day one, you have taught me so much, and it's such a short time, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you
are
staying.
friends
I appreciate you staying. You said
Of
my
course,
boys all
I'm
up
going
in
to
there.
support you, yes,
Yeah,
I'm going to
I
support you.
appreciate
No matter where you are, we're a
Thank you,
family.
man. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
of course. Thank
How you
you.
doing, Chef? Excuse me. How you doing, Chef?
I'm great. I was gonna echo this. I feel like, we're all sitting here promisers. We're so proud of you. It was a pleasant surprise coming and seeing that you were here today. So yeah,
Thank
I'm
you. I
really proud of
appreciate
you
that.
and seeing like where your vision is going. And I can't wait to do more of these.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So shout out to mama.
I want to thank everybody again for coming, man. I really appreciate y'all, man.
Of course.
Thank you. It means a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? It really does, man. Thank you. Peace. Oh,